Okay, so as we said, sort of as expected from a statistical standpoint on that first game, but Grubby really showing a ton of improvement initially there anyway. But as I said, against a player like Oz, if it's going to get to the late game, it's always going to favor Oz.
And I want to go over quickly something from that game as we bring the replay up on the stream. There was a very important engagement in that map. You can see that on your screen right now. We see Oz on the high ground, Grubby on the low ground. Oz has the Colossus right here. Grubby coming forward. Force fields go down from Oz, and look at this. The Stalkers blinking up. Look at the Zealots there. The Zealots doing so much damage to the Stalkers. That's huge.
Just doing work on them,
Okay, people say, all right, Stalkers are better than Zealots. Sure, when you can micro them. But right there, the Stalkers blinking right into the Zealots. You can't do that. You can't do that. And look at that. Oz takes the supreme advantage in that map. That being said, though, we're ready to go into game number 2, and the map has been chosen by Grubby, and he has chosen the map of Shakur's Plateau. So let's go ahead and jump into the game as our pretty faces leave the screen. And Tumba, you can go ahead and introduce if you want.
Sure thing. So here you go. You can see none other than the SC2 fan favorite spawning as the green Protoss. It is Grubby. He will be facing off against the man that has taken game 1, FXOz.
All right, Tumba, can Grubby come back? He's down 1-0 to one of the best PvPers in the game, in the world. And he displayed it in that last game. Just great thought, great thought process. Like throughout the great decision making with his positioning in his units, great ideas with what he was doing. You know, and another thing about that last game, which I touched on a little bit, Grubby just wasn't making probes. I don't know if you saw that.
No, he had stopped his probe production, and he was so focused on building an army to go kill Oz off that timing. And that's looked like, you know, he sometimes, any race, it happens with Zerg, Terran, Protoss, you get tunnel vision on your goal, and the multitasking goes out the window. And it happens to everybody. So he had a particular timing he wanted to hit. I feel like maybe he delayed the probes too long, and really we saw about a 20 to 23 harvester lead out of the blue. And what really hurt there, though, Axel, was the fact that when you combine that with the fact that he lost that first battle that you showed on the replay so poorly, that was the issue, really, because he blinked right into the Zealots and had nowhere to go.
No, and like Oz had Colossus, too. Grubby he had like 2 Phoenixes, but one of the Phoenixes was picking up something, a sentry probably, to prevent force fields.
Yeah, 2 Phoenix against 3 Colossi with a host of Stalkers, not a bueno, is what we call that.
Not a bueno. That is the proper way of saying it in the Spanish language. But yeah, Grubby chose this map, Shakur's Plateau, easy to take natural expansion, you know, relative to this matchup. You know, a ramp leads up to it, and that's it. However, there's a lot of spaces where Blink can be abused, so we could very well see both these players opening up with a Twilight Council and a Robo. Not sure when. Robo could go first, Twilight Council can go first. Depends on their playstyles, depends on what they exactly want to accomplish, whether they want to be aggressive, whether they want to be defensive. Remains to be seen, but the point of the fact of the matter is Blink very good on this map if controlled correctly. But then again, natural expansion, easy to take, and as the game gets later, it's easier to take your additional expansions because there's only one attack path on this map, one main attack path. Sure, you can say, oh, you could just break down the rocks and go that way. No, no one does that. Sorry. You go through the middle, and then it's pretty easy to defend. You have to go through this choke, and as long as you have Colossi out, spread out, like up here, all through down here, just a nice concave. Your opponent has to be in a straight line to engage. It has to happen.
Absolutely.
So you have to be very careful in those late game engagements. With that being said, it might not even get to that point. This could be just a one base versus one base kind of thing. It remains to be seen, Tumba.
Well, you know what? You asked me, can Grubby beat Oz? And my answer is yes. And that is not just an answer because I'm a fangirl of Grubby. That is an answer because it's an honest one. Grubby possesses all the skills necessary to defeat Oz. Oz is a human like anybody else. He's not unbeatable. However, wow, I don't want to take anything away from him because that last game, so very good. He forced Grubby almost, I feel like, into that engagement where he was just kind of teasing him. He sat back and he was so very patient.
Yeah.
And man, Grubby took the bait, got super aggressive, and Oz made him pay for it.
There's a lot of things happening here, Tumba. Oz's warp gate is already done. Oz has 3 gateways on the field. I think he's going to be aggressive. He has a forward pylon, 3 Stalkers being warped in. Grubby has to be extremely careful. 2 Stalkers in his national expansion. They need to get into his main base. He needs to get a sentry up there, too. There is a sentry up there, so he can't force field the bottom of the ramp, but Oz is definitely going to put on a lot of pressure now. This isn't a 4 gate. This isn't all in. He's just trying to see if he can break Grubby right now.
Yeah, and here we go. Pylon is going to try to go down here, but forces to cancel off. Good force field there.
Great play.
By Grubby, of course. Now, Grubby one of the best players under pressure, especially at this stage of the game. He is a great pressure player. I've seen him down to pulling probes and able to come back and win the game. So you can never really count him out, even against a player like Oz. Oz parked in the natural right now, though, and we're going to have to see just how much he wants to push the issue. Although if you look, he is floating.
Expanded.
Yep, and there it is.
Okay.
He was floating 400 minerals, and we see where he decided to go ahead and expand behind this pressure. I love that decision out of Oz.
Grubby coming outside of his main base, feeling relatively confident, and Oz is going to get out of there. Now, does Grubby know about this expansion? Look at his vision. No, he doesn't. Can he guess it?
I think it's
Perhaps.
safe. Yes, it's safe for him to assume. Grubby knows Oz. He knows the play style. And as soon as he saw him tuck tail and run,
yep.
And this is going to show an indicator that, in fact, he does know, he will expand himself.
Yep. Not surprised
and that
at all.
is just great game sense
yes.
right there.
Yes.
That's what it's all about. Those are these little things, these little nuances about professional play that these guys do so well. Warp Prism now for Grubby, and that can always be a game changer.
We'll see. It all depends where Oz has his army. Obviously, if he has him near the mineral lines, he's going to be fine. But we can see him right now with two of his sentries at the natural expansion and the majority of his stalkers in the middle of the map. Grubby completely circumventing the army of Oz by use of the Warp Prism. Going to drop 2 Stalkers and 2 Sentry in the back of Oz's mineral line. If he can force field the mineral line and keep the probes from leaving, he can get a great advantage.
Oh, and here we go. We're going to see it right now. As you can see, Sentries are both out. One force field goes down. A second force field goes down. Does trap the probes in the middle. Those probes will be forfeit. As you can see right now, Stalkers going to work. This is exactly what Grubby had to do. Supply of Oz, 49 of 76.
Great.
Of Grubby, 54-58, enjoying a supply lead. However,
so cool.
We can see right now Oz coming up to try to clean this up. Good micro there, though, out of Grubby to get out of there, tuck tail, and run.
Be careful, Grubby.
One of the greatest upgrades, one of the greatest changes I believe Blizzard made to Protoss was adding the shields.
Yeah.
The shield buff to that Warp Prism, because it now allows the skill cap for Protoss to be raised.
Yeah.
Gives a lot more options, and it can be tricky to go ahead and multitask, but it should be a difficult thing to do. And adding those shields made that Warp Prism a viable unit.
Yeah, that was such a cool play by Grubby. Albeit he only got 4 probes, but you have to consider, okay, Oz lost a lot of mining time there.
Right.
And Grubby got out of there without losing anything. Still 2 Stalkers and 2 Sentries in that Warp Prism. Stop scaring me, Grubby. All right. He's freaking me out a little bit. He's teasing me. And it looks like Oz putting some pylons in Grubby's side of the map. I don't know if he's going to be aggressive with that. Just getting his natural expansion saturated, getting an Immortal out on the field. Adding on a Twilight Council and an Observer, has 2 Immortals. I don't expect... if he tries to push up this ramp, I don't think that's going to work. He doesn't have any massive units. So if Grubby force fields and force fields well, it's not going to be a problem. However, Grubby's Warp Prism is going to take down a pylon. Has to be careful, though. Oz coming up from the north here to try to cut this off. And if Oz can cut this off, that's a danger zone for Grubby, but Grubby just going to pick up and back out, I think.
Yep, and he will do just that. Goes ahead and micros very well. Does lose the Stalker, unfortunately. But you know what this has done? Against Oz, Grubby has set the tone. And that is so very important to do. It's a mental advantage. He got some probe kills, and now Oz always has to be concerned with that Warp Prism. He's got to be much more cautious when he moves out. He wants to know the location of that Warp Prism before he moves his army, which can be very, very difficult.
And that's a fantastic point. I mean, you talk about the Warp Prism. How do you defend against it as a Protoss player? Oh, you drop a Stargate, build a Phoenix so you can go kill the Warp Prism. No, you're not going to do that.
Right.
That could be a potential waste of investment. So you have to keep some units behind to defend against that. Hold that thought, though. Grubby up in the middle of the map. Oz going to engage here, and Grubby just playing around with Oz, just going to blink out of there, just having a little bit of fun.
Again, that is another great thing, because what Grubby was able to do there was he was able to go ahead and get the exact unit composition of Oz. Grubby currently supply blocked. Does rather have a pylon in production, so he's almost
unsupply
blocked and clear there. However, again, I have to say, Axel, the longer this game goes, the more I feel like it's going to sway to Oz's favor. Just because he's one of those players that the second you slip up, he will capitalize on that. So Grubby cannot afford to make any mistakes whatsoever, because Oz will make you pay for a mistake 10 times over than any other Protoss will.
It looks like some Warp Prism harassment going on in Oz's face again. Pulling some probes to try to deal with these Stalkers. Grubby being so sneaky with this. The probes or wait, these are the stocks from Oz. Temporarily confused there, but Zealous being warped in there by Grubby, targeting on the next exchange. You find there's engaging a little map here. Colossus, Grubby does have a Colossus. Nice force field going down from Grubby, preventing these Immortals from being cost efficient. And Grubby with awesome unit control here, positioning his units in such a way where he's going to have the advantage every single time. Again, Oz doesn't have any massive units, so force fields, you can't just walk over them like Colossus can.
Look at this,
dropping these units. Oh my God, Grubby playing this so well, getting so many
Absolutely
3-unit kills. Beautifully played by Grubby. Now it's a supply lead, 93-60.
Yep, and now things looking very, very good for Grubby. As we said, playing pretty flawless, not making any mistakes, not giving Oz anything to capitalize on, and that was just gorgeous. Absolutely beautiful decision making, great play.
Yeah, and at the same time during all of that, Grubby had a Warp Prism in the main base of Oz. It's like I zoomed in accidentally. I don't know how to unzoom in. But yeah, like not only did he have great positioning, great play, great micro in the middle of the map, at the same time he was harassing the middle line of Oz with those
actually
zones.
Now Grubby the one to go ahead and decide to add a third, expanding first. So right now you can see 15 workers killed for Grubby, doing
fantastic.
Such a fantastic job there. And right now Grubby enjoying a huge supply lead. Again though, I have to remind you, you can never count Oz out of this, but things are looking great for Grubby.
All right, Oz doing exactly what he has to do, using the units he has on the field, trying to be cost efficient with them to try to get back into this game, targeting down this robotic facility, takes it out. Colossi is going to be halted, and Oz, he can simply just blink out of there if he wants.
To be honest, you know, I'm not sure if that was the best decision for Oz, whereas he could have gone ahead and attacked the probe line a little bit better and been more efficient. However, it will halt production of Colossus. He will be forced to waste time, but Grubby, it doesn't really matter because he has another Colossus coming out of another Robo regardless, plus his third. So I feel like right now what Oz needs to do is somehow cripple the economy of Grubby, because Grubby is just going to be so far ahead.
Yeah,
it's almost like the reverse of the first game that we saw.
Oz has to do what he can. He has to do whatever he can to try to get back into this game. He is behind. Grubby, thankfully for him, he had a second Robo just finishing as his first Robo went down. So his Colossi production won't be halted too much. Of course, he could have had double Colossi production at a time, but hold that thought. Grubby advancing toward the middle of the map here. Looks like he wants to push, has two Colossus into the competition. A bunch of Zealots sent in and Stalkers, and Oz should be scared. However, he's blinking forward into the main base of Grubby, going after the middle line. As
there we go.
That's what he needs to do. But does this lead him too weak to defend against this attack from Grubby?
And that is the question. I feel like Oz is in a bit of trouble here in terms of the fact that he can't defend against the standing army of Grubby. And Grubby right now is going to go ahead and notice, look, no third. I have my third. He knows how far ahead he is. He can go ahead and direct those probes elsewhere, opening up more warp gates. And if he's smart, I feel like he should really take it to Oz at this point. Of course, we both know Grubby, very, very smart player.
Yeah, and he's advancing up into the natural pitch. Oz leaving the probes behind.
Oh, and will not have extended thermal lance, as that does get killed. Yeah, really right now Oz in a ton of trouble. Grubby's got him right where he wants him. You can see those extended thermal lances just going to work so very well, cleaning up all of the probe line, working on the next. He's going to lose the next. I sense an impending GG out of Oz any minute now.
I don't see what Oz can do to defend. He has one base. His opponent has 3 bases. Some Stalkers doing some damage, you can say, but Grubby still is that hard.
And there's the GG out of Oz.
Yeah.
So, you know, Axel, I got to say, really, as we saw again, no mistakes there out of Grubby. I have to reiterate, because if you make a mistake against Oz, he's going to punish you for it. Really playing that quite flawlessly, and it was all off the back of that initial Warp Prism. That first Warp Prism gave all the initiative to Grubby. It kind of caught Oz off guard. He was able to get only 4 probe kills, but it didn't matter because he got scouting off, as well as the fact that he knew that he was going to go ahead and be able to harass further with it and pretty much be a pain to Oz throughout the rest of the game with it. And Oz really had no answer for that. I mean, it's like you said, too. Yeah. What am I going to do, throw down a Stargate and make Phoenix?
Yeah, I mean, when that Warp Prism on the field, it changed the dynamic of the game completely. You have to be cautious the entire game. And what happened there was, we're going to get to the replay when we come back from a commercial break. There was an engagement in the middle of the map. There's a Warp Prism doing damage from Grubby as he was attacking to the middle. But that's coming up. Stay tuned, guys. This is the 2012 MLG Winter Championships in Columbus, Ohio. He's Tumba SC. I'm Axel Toss. Don't go anywhere.